Shalom, Yashrala. This your brother Dawada, coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushua, Bahashim, Rakakudash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of great millstone that taught us this truth and rule well. And salutation and much love for you, Aki, pushing this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So I want to jump into this article real fast. It says NATO comments on nuclear guarantees for Russia. And as you can, if you've been watching this whole quagmire that they got going on in Ukraine, and them trying to explain the things that's going on, it's crazy. You just see them pretty much, when I say they, I mean, Biden in the West, mainly Biden or, the U.S., tearing apart the whole global economy and just tearing apart every damn thing, man, with their moves. But ultimately, this is, how they say, order out of chaos, because what they plan on having to rise out of this whole thing is what their new world order. So they have to collapse everything else. All right. It just seems like, everything is spiraling out of control from our perspective as far as, being the people that has to feel the blowback of all these things. But I'm going to read this here article and get into a couple scriptures, because this is also leading them to their own demise. This is their so-called plans, like I said, to bring order out of chaos, set up their new world order as of collapsing these things, but it's actually turning more of their allies into enemies. All right. So it says hosting nuclear weapons is a sovereign matter to be decided by NATO members. The deputy head of the U.S. bloc says. Now, real quick, just touching on a couple principal bases. Now, NATO, the purpose for NATO was to is to basically how do I put it? Keep Russia in check. All right. Stop Russia. Let me go back. NATO was created to do this. All right. Way back in the day when you had like the USSR, not Russia, but the USSR. All right. To basically combat the USSR, stop them from basically taking over everything else like that. And we talking about Joseph Stalin back in them days. All right. Now you had a time frame where you had with the Cold War and everything else like that, where the USSR fell apart. All right. America pretty much won that scenario throughout the Cold War, dismantled the USSR. All right. Turned Russia down into a third world country and everything else like that. They wasn't even in the game. All right. But then over, a matter of time, Russia started coming back. That bear started waking back up, according to prophecy as well, too. The hooks was being put back to the jaws. And, now these nations, are, coming back into the state of Russia, But, all these things, really wouldn't be happening, not speaking as far as prophecy wise, because we know that all things happen on the Most High's time and for, his will. But, in a more carnal sense, none of these things wouldn't be happening if America wasn't pushing at this here agenda. All these things are, you see this going on is all reactionary of Russia. All right. Or reactionary of America, what America's doing to Russia. All right. So let's read a little bit of this. It says, and another thing. So with the Ukraine situation, all right, Russia had two demands. All right. One, that Ukraine does not join NATO. All right. And two, that they stop sending weapons over to that Ukraine don't join NATO, and that America stops sending weapons to Ukraine, because Ukraine is bordered with Russia. All right. And so as you can understand, NATO being created to combat with Russia, you bringing your whole military right there on their borders. This is a problem. All right. Now, as we read this here article, it goes from them not wanting Ukraine to join NATO and to stop sending weapons over there to them listening to what they're saying. It says hosting nuclear weapons is a sovereign matter to be decided by NATO members, the deputy head of the U.S. bloc says. All right. So, hey, you got two other nations that's trying to join over there, Finland and Sweden. All right. And not just them, you got other nations that America is pushing for as well, too. All right. But then ultimately, just think about that. You got all these different nations surrounding Russia now hosting nuclear weapons. All right. They trying to get Ukraine to join. They put nukes right there. America was all had their panties in a bunch when, back in the day, the Cuban Missile Crisis, where, allegedly Russia had missiles 90 miles off the coastline of Florida and Cuba. All right. So how much more, just imagine if, how America would feel if Russia rolled up and put nukes in Canada, on the Canada-America border and the Mexico-America border, man. America would be up in arms. But this is like out in the open what America's trying to do here. All right. So it says NATO is not inclined to give Russia any security guarantees on the deployment of nuclear weapons on the territory of its two newest respective members, Finland and Sweden. The bloc deputy Secretary General Camille Grand has said every country is free in the nuclear field to deploy or not to deploy such weapons. We're not talking about setting up some principal restrictions on the possible actions of an alliance. the NATO official told Swiss broadcaster RTS in an interview published on Tuesday. So see, this is the type of rhetoric. Oh no, we just, first they'll say, oh, anybody has the right to join NATO, and they just want to join NATO for, better trade, better this, better security, this and that. Then as soon as they try to join, they're like, oh, well, they also have the right to house and store nuclear missiles on their, on their side and everything else like that. And then when Russia feels threatened and everything else like that and goes to attack, then all of a sudden they got to go and attack. But we can see through all these plans, man. Look, man, they gearing up to wage World War III on Russia, man. All right, and Russia is not just going down so easily, man. They're gonna defend themselves all the way out to the end. All right, every country is free in the nuclear field to deploy. We just read that. It says every NATO member country decides this issue sovereignly, and now there's no such question. But I do not think that the current situation is necessary to give Russia any guarantees regarding our military posture in the region. So it says, hey, man, every NATO member can decide sovereignly. But they're going to be pressured. They're being pressured by America. Basically, it's like, look, for them, it's a lose-lose situation. Like, hey, bro, you don't want to join NATO. You don't want to follow our plans. We'll, overthrow your government, steal your country from you, and we'll join NATO anyway for you. Or, we'll provoke a war or whatever, make you have to feel the blowback of the whole thing. You'll be stuck in the middle. So you might as well join us. You know what I'm saying? How they say, if you can't beat us, join us, right? It says longtime neutral countries, Finland and Sweden, have scrambled to join NATO amid the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Russia attacked its neighbor state in late February following Ukraine's failure to implement the terms of the Minsk agreement, first signed in 2014, and Moscow's eventual recognition of the Donbass Republic of Donetsk and Luhansk. All right, so, and again, that's a little bit of some bullshit, but basically America tried to go over there and steal the Ukraine from them, all right? And then you have portions of Ukraine that wasn't going with that, and they wanted to stay with Russia and everything else like that. And Russia was like, look, these people don't want to be a part of y'all, and so we're going to recognize them as sovereigns, and we're going to protect them, all right? Y'all had all this time to come to an agreement, but you didn't. But, hey, they think that this war just started because Russia decided to invade them, but it goes further back than that. All right, it says the German-French brokered protocols were designed to give the breakaway regions special status within the Ukrainian state. The Kremlin has since demanded that Ukraine officially declares itself a neutral country that will never join NATO. All right, and that's one of Russia's, not to say they're red lines. That's what they're requesting, more or less, to say. They're like, look, y'all don't even have to join us all the way back 100%. Just never join NATO, because if you do, you'll be enacting Article 5, which if you attack any NATO member, all of NATO comes out at your ass. So them being bordered with Russia, all they had to do is sneeze the wrong way. All right. Then all of a sudden they're in World War III just based off of that alone. So, Russia's like, yo, we need a buffer zone. We don't need y'all right there on our border. If people can't understand that, again, imagine how quick we would be in World War III if Russia posted up on the Canada-America border and the Mexico-America border and put their missiles right there. America would just immediately would attack, say, oh, we being provoked, so we got to attack now. Y'all right there on our borders with all these troops. What are y'all doing? Y'all surrounding us. This is exactly what's going on in the Ukraine right now, all right? And not just the Ukraine. You got the same shit going on in Taiwan, and same thing going on over in, South Korea, versus North Korea and China right there. So, hey, man, it's nothing new. Same game plan, all right? But it says, let me go back up. The Kremlin has since demanded that the Ukraine officially declare itself a neutral country and that will never join Ukraine. Grant said that the potential accession of Ukraine to the bloc is currently not on the agenda, and the ongoing conflict must be resolved before Kiev will be able to decide for themselves how they want to position themselves in the European security architecture. So like I said, they put themselves between a rock and a hard spot. No, we're not asking for them to join NATO right now, but as you can see, they're at a war with Russia right now. It would help them out if they was a part of NATO. Then we could step in and help them and everything else like that. So you see what I'm saying? Like, if you being pressured to join NATO, but if you don't want to join NATO, they can pretty much steal your country and fuck you over. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lose-lose for these people. Since both Finland and Sweden, despite being de jure neutral, have maintained close ties and military cooperation with the U.S.-led bloc for decades, there are two very close partners who come with significant military capabilities. They also bring the knowledge of the Baltic and Nordic Sea regions, Grand said. So see, ultimately it's just America and the West, mainly America, trying to get these better positions, all right, to surround Russia and, better positions for World War III. All right, they ain't got nothing to do with these nations. They just putting these nations out there, as collateral, all right? Since potential accession of the two nations to to the bloc, however, has run into deadlock as Turkey, a major NATO country, firmly opposes the membership bid. And Ankara accused the two countries of being guest house for terrorist organizations for hosting members of the outlawed Kurdish groups. All right, which is well, it says Turkey now wants. Yeah, let me keep reading. It says Turkey now wants Helsinki and Stockholm to clamp down on Kurdish Workers' Party (PKK) and other groups it deems terrorists, as well as surrender some suspects to Ankara. So this is a terrorist group to Turkey. All right, but on the flip side, America uses them as so-called moderate rebels. All right, and that's what America and Turkey got into a debacle over back in Syria with. All right. It says, among other demands, and Ankara also wants the two countries to lift restrictions on arms trades with Turkey. Grant expressed hope that the differences between Turkey and the two prospective member states will be resolved ahead of the upcoming NATO summit scheduled for late June. All right, now one of the things that's got this quagmire with Turkey is the fact that they about to start bombing in Syria, where Russia's kind of tied up in Ukraine, right? Now, America don't really want to stop Turkey from bombing the PKK in Syria because of the fact of they got that veto power over, these other nations joining in. So they got to kind of be sweet to Turkey right now. But, hey, America ain't always been so nice to Turkey. So, hey, if Turkey really wanted, they can go sign another S-400 deal while they at the table. Because, look, what they going to do? Tell them they can't do it. We'll just veto the deal and we're going to fuck up y'all game plan for getting a serious situation. So this is turning, we're going to get into it in the scriptures. All right. Their own plans are starting to backfire on their ass. All right. And causing enemies. Job 18:7, it says, the steps of his strength shall be straightened. His own counsel shall cast him down. For he is cast into a net by his own feet. He walketh upon a snare. The gin shall take him by the heel, and the robber shall prevail against him. The snare is laid for him in the ground, and a trap for him in the way. And that's what it seems like every step of the move has been, with this whole Ukraine situation, man. All right, they for the Ukrainians, they was like, oh, well, they kept saying, we'll protect every inch of NATO, we'll protect every inch of NATO. And then they provoked this whole scenario with Russia. But come to find out, they wasn't even a part of NATO. So now, Russia and NATO is involved in a conflict. America's not sending troops. America's not, getting involved with that. What they are doing is sending weapons over there, but all the weapons, all they doing with that is basically, America make money off of all the sales of these weapons because they the ones that produce the weapons. But it's just prolonging this war, and it's just more and more people over there dying. They're not going to ever beat Russia because they too small of a military. I believe they only got like 100-some thousand troops or something like that, comparably to, man, Russia's a whole full-blown top-notch military, man. All right, so plus they got nukes. You're not going to win. All right, but all you're doing is stalling yourself out. But nevertheless, with these other plans that they got, look at how they backfiring, Oh, let's put sanctions on Russia. Let's do all these different things. Well, who is it really affecting? All right, it's only affecting you at home in America, man. All right, it's the gas pumps and everything else like that. It's affecting you at home in America, man. All these different things they plan on doing is really affecting America and then their allies. All right, the steps of his strength shall be straightened. His own counsel shall cast him down. For he is cast into a net. By his own feet, he walketh upon a snare. Because ultimately, this is going to wind up turning these other nations against him, man. This is what's going to turn his friends into his enemies. The gin shall take him by the heel, and the robber shall prevail against him. The snare is laid for him in the ground, and the trap for him in the way. So, hey, now you got to kind of bow down to Turkey right about now, man. All right? Terror shall make him afraid on every side and shall drive him to his feet. His strength shall be hunger bitten, and destruction shall be ready at his side. They shall devour the strength of his skin. Even the firstborn of death shall devour his strength. It says his confidence shall be rooted out of his tabernacle and shall bring him to the king of terrors. All right. So, hey, ultimately, this is going to bring him out to what? World War III. All right. And once he's being brought out, let me read the next verse. It says, it shall dwell in his tabernacle because it is none of his. Brimstone shall be scattered upon his habitation. All right. So, hey, let me keep reading. It says his root shall be dried up beneath, and above his branch shall be cut off. His remembrance shall perish from the earth. He shall not have no name in the streets. He shall be driven from the light into darkness and chased out of the world. He shall neither have son nor nephew among his people, nor any remaining in his dwelling. So look, man, this is what's going to be the end all be all for America. You see them making these last final moves and the things that they're doing, all this, how they say, going for the gusto, making these fast moves because he knows he has but a short time. Hey, all you seeing them doing is becoming sloppy. Now you seeing them making these moves and everything else like that it's going to bring them to their own demise. All right. This is Obadiah 1:6 or 1:7. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee, i.e., like Turkey, all right, have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. And they that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee, and there's no understanding in him. Turkey really got them by the balls right now because look, they got the S-400, even though America told them they couldn't get it and try to sanction them and everything else like that. It's like, well, what y'all gonna do? Come over here and take y'all, they kicked him out the F-35. What y'all gonna do? Come over and take y'all nukes? We'll shoot y'all out the sky. What you gonna do? Come and invade us? We'll shoot you out the sky. What are you gonna try to do to us at this point in time? Oh, so now y'all don't want us to go out there, the Kurds over there because those are their terrorists. You don't want us to go out to the Kurds? All right, we'll just veto your NATO situation. We'll just screw up your bigger scheme of plans. Why you worried about us in this situation, man? So now, again, you start to see friends becoming enemies and this whole debacle, man. All right. Revelation 17:16. It says, and the horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So going into the whore that rideth upon the beast, America being the whore, and the beast going into what? NATO and going into NATO, all right, NATO and the EU. All right. Now, when you go into this situation, look at how the EU is being treated right now on these things with with Russia and everything else like that, man. Look at how basically the EU is being treated as far as energy supplies and everything else like that. They're being cut off, man. All right. So what do you think that they're gonna wind up doing, man? They're gonna wind up turning their back on America, and they're gonna wind up sending nukes over here, man. All right. So hey, as you see, the table is being set for all this to backfire and blow up in America's face. But this is their own doings, man. This is bringing their own downfall and everything else like that. But hey, this is all, how do I say, been prophesied in the scripture to happen, and it's just all playing out right about now. So again, we can't sit here and be upset and be mad like, damn, what the fuck is they doing? They just dismantling everything and destroying every damn thing. But hey, this is how it was all prophesied for it to all go out. All right. But I'm gonna go ahead and close out with that. Lord willing, the elect was edified with this here lesson. Until next time, I say, call halal Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders, the great millstone that taught us this truth and I rule well. And salutation and much love for you, I can pushing this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Until next time, I say, stay strong. Shalom.